Kissing Booth 3.
My name is Carl. Mwah.
My name is Oscar. Mwah. And this is Who Would
Watch This. Mwah. Don't try and... Oh my.
Oh, and we kissed. Oh, fuck.
What's that song? Kiss me through the phone. Isn't
Kiss
that what...
me through the microphone. Podcast style. Welcome to Who Would Watch This, the podcast where we watch a film, talk about the film, and then freaking try and goddamn work out who would watch this. Carl, what are we doing today?
Today we're concluding the long-running trilogy, the Joey King classic, starring Joel, Courtney, and that guy from Euphoria. It's the conclusion to the Kissing Booth trilogy. It currently has a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 4.8 on IMDb, and a 1.3 on Letterboxd. We're going out with a banger.
What's the plot of this one, Carl? Let me tell you. In a sentence, I guess. This is Netflix's official plot. It's the summer before Elle Evans is set to head off to college, and she has a big decision to make. Would you believe it? They stretched that out to 2 hours, and we watched the whole thing. Carl,
it's also not that big of a decision. It's not that big of a decision.
Not that big of a decision. And it's overstretched over 2 films. Now, we've done Kissing Booth 1 and 2. I have also gone back and listened to that. The audio isn't good, so don't seek it out. But Carl's now going to give us pretty much his rough memory of the Kissing Booth 1 and 2. I've read the Wikipedia articles, and I'm just going to fact check them. So, Carl, give the audience a bit of plot background for the Kissing Booth, because it's a very in-depth trilogy.
Oh, it is. It's very interconnected. It's very rich in characters and stories. There are many colorful characters that I think I remember. So from memory, it opens, Joey King's mum is dead, but she is ecstatic, if I recall from the opening. Her best friend is Joel Courtney Lee in the film, and then his older brother, who is about 9 feet taller than everybody else, starts fucking Joey King after they hook up at a kissing booth at a carnival. I think the school throws.
Lee and Elle organise the Kissing Booth for charity, because it's a quick on-the-whim thing to get out the popular kids.
Right, and I think there's a whole thing where Joey King was a small skirt, and a man named Tuppen, sexually harasses her.
That is correct. He harasses her, then Noah beats the shit out of Tuppen.
That's right. And Tuppen is, hulking huge. Maybe the oldest person to ever be at a high school. He's gigantic.
Both men are 10 feet tall, and they're They're Attack of the Titans giants. And they attack, and Elle's in the background getting just abused by both.
I think her and Lee have these stupid rules that pop up and down. Mm-hmm. And one of them's you can't fuck my brother. Which I don't know why they put that in there when they were 11.
The rules were made at 11. That's rule 15, just a big, hey, we just learn about sexual intercourse. I'm pretty sure you're trying to do it with my brother. So yes,
and Joey King's don't you dare fuck my younger brother, Lee.
He's an infinite this time, but don't you dare.
And then, if I just recall, there's a lot of violence.
There's a lot of violence. Noah hits a lot of people.
Does he hit Joey King? From what I recall, he hits her. Does that happen?
I think he cuts her. I think he does something that's
What comes at her with a knife?
Yeah, he tries to stab her with a knife, and she's like, that's adorable. I think I'm falling in love. He does. Elle falls and cuts her face, and Lee thinks that it's Noah that's done it.
Yeah, that's right. And Lee's have you hurt my best friend? And then it turns out they're fucking. And then I think the older brother then beats the shit out of Lee in front of Joey King. Yep. And then everything ends up okay because it's something to do with a Batman costume in a car.
So they do a very I don't know, it's okay to do this, but Lee, because Lee and Noah are brothers, we should stress that. So Lee dresses up as in a Batman costume, and Elle and him go for a drive. Turns out they do a switcheroo. Noah's in the Batman costume. I think they fuck. It ends on that. Kissing Booth 1 concluded. There was a kissing booth in there. That was a big plot point, but not really. So
It's
just
really
move on.
not. It has that awful line at the end of the first one where Joey King's like, and who would have thought it's all because of a kissing booth.
Kissing booth. So that was a
alright.
runaway success. That was a massive thing, and Netflix were like, all right, order 2 more of those. So then they filmed the second and the third back to back. Right, Carl, what's the second one? I've got the plot up here. I'll tick you if you're getting anything wrong. So hit me.
Alright, so the second one, I'm way more hazy on, because I remember seeing the first one maybe 4 or 5 times. I'm the reason...
It's a fun romp. It's ridiculous because he's a violent criminal, but this, yeah.
I think I've only seen the second one twice. Now, the second one, if I recall, the older brother's off at college. He's maybe fucking somebody named Nora, and then...
Chloe, I believe her name
Chloe?
was.
And then Joey King starts getting into a dance battle with with Marco, who's like 40.
Who is the sort of he's the 40-year-old man. He's kind of the second love interest. He's the Jacob to the Edward of this film, and you kind of think, ooh, will Marco work? So that's kind of the main thing.
And then I think Lee's having marital issues with his girlfriend because he's too close with Joey King.
Yes.
And then that's pretty much it for the second film, right? And then she gets into a college, and it's either
both,
she can either go to college with Lee or she can go to college with Noah, and she has to make that decision. Pretty low stakes for a trilogy.
Low stakes, and yet it drives this third film. We should really just talk about it. Rachel is Lee's girlfriend.
Yeah, played by like a 35-year-old.
Pretty much,
in real
yeah.
life. She has kids.
Yeah, we looked. she's a mother, and Lee abuses her pretty much the whole film, just constantly like with Joey King. She's upset for a good reason. It's never resolved. Anyway, so yeah, that's how we end, and now we're on to the kissing booth 3.
Yeah, and to depend on if you saw how quickly I summarized that second film, that was like 2 hours 20. I'm pretty sure.
We go into a detail, but again, the detail of these films is there's so many like 30-second scenes that pop up, and then like a couple minutes later get resolved, and then that's it. And there's a lot of those just filling it.
There's like an intense amount of side caricatures of just the most ridiculous people that you would not only never see in real life, let alone see in a high school setting. If I recall from memory, I think that some of the characters we loved and adored there was Tuppen, there was weird photography dude. There was
the 3 bitchy girls.
The 3 bitchy girls. There were 2 guys who weren't sure if they wanted to kiss or not for a lot of the film.
Yeah, they were like, "Ooh, are we gay? Are we not?"
And then there's like a weird guy that's just overflowing with saliva that has glasses and curly hair.
Molly Ringwald's in it. I don't think like that's. She's the mum of Noah and Lee. She doesn't really get much, but she's in it.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. That's where we're at emotionally and physically. That's where we're at. I think good on me. I think it's an all right memory. I probably missed some stuff. Good.
You've missed the least important things. I think there's a lot that really doesn't need to be covered and shouldn't have been covered. I'm glad they learned that this film should not be 2 hours 20. That second one being that long was a crime. I think
they should all be 90 minutes. But none of them are shorter. I think the first one's like an hour 40, maybe? Hour 50?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Do we want to just jump right into it?
Let's just jump straight goddamn into it. All right, Carl. So we're back to where we were. They're driving on that massive highway where you think they're going to commit suicide.
They're not even staying in their own lane. They're just jumping around. There's corners. A car could come at any... It's incredibly reckless to end a film on it and start the film on it. And then end this film on it again. Wild.
It's that classic. It's like the David Fincher thing, in Gone Girl. He started with, the girl looking up to Ben Affleck. But imagine nothing happened in Gone Girl, and that's where we're at. So anyway, that's a spoiler for the ending. Okay, So Elle does her classic recap. You kind of touched on it. Tonally, she just recaps everything they've done over the summer. And she's
I
just
think
like...
they needed to kill off somebody else in this recap. I think every recap should have had somebody dying. Should have been like, we surfed, we skateboarded, said goodbye to Tuppen. Like...
The lung cancer got to him. He shouldn't have been vaping, and he knew better. Hey, we lost a good man. Anyway, went bungee jumping.
It's a hell of a way to open every single film of a trilogy. And I wish Frodo did this for The Lord of the Rings. I think it would be hilarious. Because it would be like, oh, we ran away from Mordor and then said goodbye to Gandalf. And then there were rocks.
This creepy guy trying to get the ring. Ugh, a big spider. We got him. So Elle has decided, so in this fun little montage, okay, so they're at the beach house. I don't know where the beach house is.
Really quick, I'm so sorry to have to stop you. One of the things that I've written down from the opening is they rewatch themselves have sex in a classroom from when they were like 2 years younger.
Yeah.
Weird. Also, if you held on to that, it counts as child pornography. So that's an uncomfortable setup for the first few minutes.
Strange way to open the film, but go on.
She then catches a ball in a kayak at a baseball stadium, and the crowd cheers. I don't know how they see it. I don't know why they're there, and I don't know where this is.
You blink and you miss it. There's so many of those. You're kind of like, was this a day? How did you get into these hijinks? And you have the audacity to show this fucking plot instead of the most intriguing, a kayak at a baseball game. That sounds like a great an hour and 20 minutes.
You could do a full podcast on the openings alone, but it's while this whole film is based around them trying to complete a bucket list, when they very clearly had an intense summer of activities already.
This film is 20 minutes of montages, and I can't... They've done so many activities, it's criminal that they think they haven't lived their best lives. What have we done in the last 8 weeks? I don't think we've lived at all. I've yet to go on make up a blanket fort. That's one of their things.
I'm recording in one right now.
Oh, you are.
Look at
actually.
me go.
Look at us. Person a montage.
Build a blanket fort, but I did have to say goodbye to my mum because of coronavirus.
It's a shame, but you did get to do that kayak baseball thing, didn't you? That was fun.
That's true. And then I watched myself have sex in a laboratory. Weird.
All right. The biggest thing is Ella's got a waitressing job. Okay? It seems like
is that the biggest thing?
I guess so. They keep going back to it. I don't really know why they include this. So
she doesn't do a lick of work at the job. She's awful employee. There's a part where she falls over and trips all of this food and it cuts and she's fine. But it's not like she got that table their food. They're just waiting.
And the chef, do you remember right before that? She's like to the chef, hey, hurry up. And the chef's like, I'm going as fast as I can.
I'd be like, you don't hold any authority. I'm cooking the food that we sell and make money on. All you've done is talk to Marco coming in and out of this cafe, back and forth.
The plot pretty much happens is that Lee, Noah, and Elle have been going to this beach house for many, many years. Again, not really sure why Elle's accepted into this family so much, but she is. The plot is that Molly Ringwald is selling the house. That's the saddest thing that can happen. But pretty much the gang, if you will, convince them to go, hey, there's a lot of things involved in selling a house. Wouldn't it be good if you, as an adult, palmed it off to us children, and we could sell the house? Instead of doing all the really important stuff like cleaning it and stuff, they just throw about 4 parties, I think.
The sheer entitlement of these rich white Americans. For them to be like, she's like, hey, we're going to sell the house. It hasn't been used in a decade. And Lee is like, where? I want to use the house one more time. Where? What would you know? And she's like, I'm a real estate agent. Now's the time to sell. And he's like, I didn't know that. You awful child. Know your mother's career. Lee is one of the most unlikable characters committed to screen, and they doubled down on it in the 3rd film. Wild.
They focus on him. He has had nothing redeeming in the 6 hours we've watched with him. He's an entitled monster. And quite frankly, Noah's violent, but Lee's 1,000 times worse. He hurts with his words and his attitude.
When the family agrees to let them stay in the beach house, they're like, okay, we're going to put out the for sale sign. And Lee, childishly, spoiltly, keeps taking the sign away.
Yeah, Noah has to keep hammering it in. The weak child can't lift it up. So what does he do? He gets a sticker, sticks the number over the number. He's like, haha, now nobody will be able to sell this house. My insane love for this house will live on forever. He's an entitled cunt. I can't believe we're meant to be like, we're following these people.
I'm like, we're feeling sorry for you.
Your second home has to get sold. It doesn't even have to get sold, as we find out. It's just, hey, my investment's doing well. I might sell.
But in other news, this house is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if it's a real location. It's stunning. This whole situation where they're staying and where the relationships are at, none of this is relatable. None of this is like, I've been there. Like,
especially to the core demographic, which is like younger people, I think. Who lives this life? This amazing life that, quite frankly, if I lived it, I'd be like Lee. I'd be a monster, but let me live it. They don't give me the opportunity.
God, you just watch it and you're like, oh man, this is one of those cases where you're like, bullying is a necessary part of high school, and Lee should have been at the tail end of that for much longer.
He should have got some poundings. I'll say it right now.
Oh, God, he's not even nice to anyone.
No.
Is he? He's actually awful to Elle.
And he's awful to
and
Rachel.
His own girlfriend.
Rachel gets, like, I don't think you remember, like, in the second one, all he does is spend all his time with Elle, Joey King. Never spent, like, any time with, like, his actual girlfriend. And Rachel's like, it's fine, I just don't think this is working. He's like, no, you're staying with me. You're staying with me for goddamn years. Let me tell you now.
I feel bad for Rachel in this film because she's pretty much not in it.
She's not in it. It's a paycheck for her. I love the actress that got to play it, but as a character, it's atrocious. So
I feel like, do you reckon when they were wrapping up the last one, they accidentally flew most of the actors back home? Or like they were already scheduled to leave, so they had to race through all of their scenes?
I wouldn't be surprised, because there's like quite a bit of green screen in this, right?
So much green screen, and it's so noticeable. It's awful green screen.
Like, maybe it's a bit of I can't really remember, because the other ones were pretty like hapdash, like smacked together. But do you think the story changed because of because it must have been around the start of COVID?
Yeah, they must have been like, we need to rush through this or something like that. It's weird. Weird. Anyway, but the main central thing during also them just being at this summer house is that everybody at Berkeley and at Harvard keep calling Elle.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to make a decision. I hate being popular with universities.
I'm so needed and wanted. Do you remember how she got into uni? I can't remember. Did she write like a letter? And then every university was like, we need this girl. She can do...
Oh, it was the worst letter. You're right. She was basically like, hey, the adversity that I've overcome, I thought Lee was sleeping with someone else, but he wasn't. And in the end, isn't this really just about a kissing booth? And everybody went...
Harvard shook. They'd never seen such word poetry pasted onto a piece of paper. It was gorgeous.
It's basically if a child had finger painted an image of anything with fecal matter and sent that in, they would have been just as receptive to that as the letter that Elle wrote.
A standing ovation, of course. You just don't see
They're
it.
Just awful.
It's terrible. Anyway, so she's apparently a genius. Sure, she's in every university and she is like palming them off and not accepting them, right?
One of the things that kept bugging me was she had to set an alarm to be like, make a decision about Berkeley. And then mid-conversation it pops up and she's like, I need to make a decision. And I'm like, had you not set that alarm, would you have literally just forgot to make a decision about going to university?
It's the only thing on her plate at the moment, it seems. It seems like it's giving her lots of
Nothing else.
anxiety. Nothing. Her life is perfect. She lives at the beach house with her friends and her boyfriend. Nothing's bad, it seems.
One of her main issues is one of the nicest women starts dating her own dad, and she's like, "You cunt. You'll never be my own mother. How dare you? Bet you're a slut and a whore. Bet you prostitute on the side. Get your filthy hands away from my
riddled
younger
with
brother."
every disease, you cunt. Now, how old are these characters? I couldn't really figure it out.
I think if they've got to be either 18 or 19 if they're finishing up high school.
That's
right?
what I thought. But then Chloe, who's at university with Noah, who's a bit older, I think. She says she's 23.
And then I think Noah's 20 or 21.
Why is Chloe hanging out with Noah then? I know he's a hunk and a gorgeous boy. We all know that, Carl. But why is she hanging out with someone 2 years younger than her? And then an extra 4 years younger than her for Elle?
Because I think we know this. She's playing the long game. So she's there because I think she knows inevitably she's going to get Noah. And frankly, I'm pretty sure she does.
Yeah, I mean, to spoil it now, and I think this is the angriest I've been, because it's like, just give us the ending we all want. It's 3 fucking films. How do you not give us anyway? We'll get into that, Carl. We'll get into that.
I would like to quickly also say, just in terms of all the rich people in this film and all the relatable scenarios, one of them is just, what's her name? Chloe?
Chloe, yes.
Chloe's like, "Oh God, I've got to see you." Rocks up. She's got a yacht the size of the Titanic, and is like, "Oh, it sucks. I hate it here. I think my parents are getting divorced." Like, oh, poor you. You're sipping a margarita on a yacht as you explain your issues. Couldn't be less empathetic. Frankly, I hope her parents got divorced. We'll never know because they dropped the plot line, but I hope it happened.
Honestly, I'll say right now, if I had the option of my parents getting divorced and getting to be on a yacht for maybe a week, I'd be tempted, okay? I'd be pretty tempted.
I'm the first to raise my hand to say, "Mom and Dad, split up and get a yacht."
Divorce, I hear it's a very good money-making thing, so I think you should use that money and buy a yacht. Just for me and my...
Some people forget divorces are so expensive because they inevitably have to buy a yacht.
That's the thing, and the hardest thing then is you have to split the yacht at the end of the court proceeding. But in that good golden time of 3 months, you've got a yacht and a stable parents. So and that's pretty nice.
All well aware that a boat is just a fucking money pit.
Oh yeah. Marriage Story they didn't really show it in Marriage Story, but a lot of boat handling, a lot of knot tying in that film. You don't see it.
So much boat handling. I think people forget that at the end when the kid has written that letter or is able to read out Adam Driver's letter, nobody's seen fucking Marriage Story. I'm going to do a gag on Marriage Story. What am I doing?
Noah Baumbach listens
to this.
Noah Baumbach listening to the podcast, smacks the wall. Damn it! I just want one person to make a Marriage Story bit. It could work.
It can also, pretty sure we had a Marriage Story bit in the last 2 episodes. We're obsessed with it for some reason.
It's a great film. You gotta check it out.
Whenever we their relationship's falling apart, it's just Marriage Story weasels its
kind of
way
like a
in as
Marriage
reference.
Story if you work it, but it's not like a Marriage Story because they should have broken up years ago. Anyway.
See, it's like we want to do a gag, but there's nothing there for us to latch onto.
That film can't be mocked. That film is serious, and you shouldn't make fun of that. Divorce is a very serious thing, Carl. You take back your boat bit.
No.
Okay, back onto
As
it.
a
They throw a
child-
party.
How do they have this many friends at this boathouse? Where is this located? In the vicinity of their high school? Because isn't the whole idea you have a beach house away from home, but they just drive back and forth over and over?
Again, we don't know about geography and locations, but I think in California, is there a beach down there? Is this Venice Beach? Is this the Venice Beach? I don't know where things are.
Given up trying to pretend South Africa is California, because all of the cliff work, all of the boats, and the way that the beach is not California in the slightest. And yet this film has tried so hard to not let there be a single black extra. It's absolutely horrifying that they pulled that off.
There's one, I think he's like not even a character, an extra, but they've hired him, but he looks 40, so I don't know why they've done an atrocious job. They must have hired. It's upsetting.
They must have had a South African wrangler that just like keeps all of the extras like just apart. Be like, no, you're not. Look like you're from California. You look Californian.
They're segregating in the back.
We're calling you out, Kissing Booth 3. We know what you fucking did.
Yeah.
All right, and we're not impressed.
Now hang on, Marco was there. He was slightly tanned. That gets a pass.
Oh my god. Should we talk about Marco's involvement in this story?
Okay, yeah. So for context, he's the Jacob of like the second one. That's, I think, like a fair thing to say. He's like the main conflict in that one. What's he doing in this film, Carl?
So he's working at the water park, which is near. Again, don't know the geography of how the school. Anyway, he's also here at this summer location.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the bucket list that Lee and Elle are going through.
Yeah, again, when they made when they were 11.
Yeah, again, that they made when they were 11. So barely any of them are relevant and things you wouldn't even want to do as a growing adult. She's like, hey, can you set up this thing for me and Lee? And he's like, totally, I can do that. So when we finally get to what he's set up for them to do, what is it?
So, I guess Nintendo sponsored this one. They've set up a go-karting race, and Lee is going to dress up as Princess Peach, Elle is Mario, and Rachel's been relegated to Luigi. They wanted Noah to be Wario. A bit of fun, love it. Noah refuses. Then Marco steps up.
Because he's a wet blanket.
He's a wet blanket that hits people. And Marco steps up as Wario. Seeing this, Noah is enraged. And in fairness, character development, doesn't hit anybody, but he takes his violent, he turns to road rage. He joins the race, and this race goes on for about 10 minutes. So much stuff happens, like so much stuff that we need to talk about in detail. There's a nerd that has like a drone and is dropping bombs on people, which doesn't...
Saliva nerd.
He's back. Marco does... So Noah runs Marco off the track in a violent act, and Marco, Lightning McQueens himself back onto the race. He's like, turn left, and gets back on. Tuppen gets fucking knocked out of this race.
Oh, he does. He gets awfully abused in this race. He's lucky to be there. I don't know why he wasn't Wario. He has more of a Wario capability.
He does have a Wario vibe about him, doesn't he?
Why do we think Lee got stuck with Princess Peach?
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's a bit of a cheeky one. Because that's what Lee is. He's a cheeky little theatre kid. Let's just give off that vibe.
I reckon he had just like such a meltdown over having to be Princess Peach. He's like, oh, first the whole beach house thing with my mom and I have to be Princess Peach, and you're leaving a college. Wah, wah.
3 pieces of adversity. It's never been done before. I've never had this many issues. My plate is full. 3 things. Full.
One of the main issues he has is like, oh god, after we did like a dance routine, Elle didn't stick around. I was saying, this film is just a strung together, just grand gestures of things that wouldn't happen in real life. Noah constantly is an asshole to Elle.
Yeah.
And then has to do a grand gesture to win her back. At one stage, she comes home, there's candles everywhere.
He's lit.
An absolute fire hazard.
It's like 700 candles at least. It's quite the... It must have taken him hours.
It's one of those things that I find frustrating because there's no way he himself could do that.
No.
It's one of those grand gestures that's too far that no human being could possibly do that.
No, it's like a whole... It's like, yeah, the gesture's lovely, but you have paid people to do it. So it kind of loses its nice moment, really. Anyway, so Elle... Because they're doing these... Pretty much Elle's whole plot is like, oh, I want to spend time with my friend Lee because I'm going to university with Noah. So I'll try and awfully balance my time. So Noah's done this lovely gesture, and Elle's like, hang on, Noah, I can't do this very nice romantic dinner. I have to go to a very fancy restaurant with my friend Lee and then do a flash mob. I have to do a flash mob, Carl. We couldn't do this.
Now, I want to play... I think there's two sides to the story here.
Yep.
Because, one, it's ridiculous that she's doing a flash mob to begin with. When were they practicing this? Why were they doing it for so long? Why is Marco a part of the flash mob? 2, surely Noah should have known she was doing a flash mob and that it was that night and shouldn't have done a romantic dinner and then get upset. She's got a flash mob she's been practicing for to go to.
It's very detailed.
Throw a dinner.
How many people are in this fancy restaurant? It is a very fancy restaurant. It's got gold, like, cutlery. So how many people? It's like half of them are part of the flash mob. Which, see, yeah, you're right. It's quite an event. I feel like if they had like a shared Google calendar, all these issues wouldn't be a thing. Noah would see every week she's been doing a flash mob course.
Yeah, it's not like, because he's like, oh, what are you doing something with my brother again? And it's like, fuck you. I've been practicing a flash mob for a month for this one moment.
On the other side of the coin, Noah is very much justified in asking Elle, why are you doing a flash mob? Pretty much a useless thing to do. And quite frankly, a nuisance to the restaurant. If I'm sitting in a restaurant, a very nice restaurant, as we've now known because of the gold cutlery, I've organised like a nice date, and these kids start dancing and ruining the atmosphere, I'm furious. I asked for a refund, honestly.
Also, it means half their restaurant is taken up with reservations of people that are just going to leave. So really, they've also lost half the income for the night to the flash mob.
Imagine that
Can't
for the
they
restaurant.
Just walk in?
Yeah.
Why do they have to start at the restaurant?
Because no one else had food. So that means the restaurant would have been fully booked on a Saturday, I assume, and then half their clientele have walked out. The other half is angry because a flash mob's just happened. It's just a disaster for the restaurant culinary business, and Elle works in culinary areas, so she should know that this is a fucking disaster of a decision.
She's the type of bitch that would be like, if there was a flash mob at her workplace when she's working, she'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
So overdone. Ugh.
Shut up and dance with me? Totally 2012. Like,
not when I do it though. It's a bit cliche and a bit like I'm knowingly, doing it. But
one of the other things of conflict between Noah and Elle is the fact that maybe she's spending too much time with Marco because Marco's helping out with this list thing.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, we really haven't. Yet she would have had to have practiced for that last month doing the flash mob dances with Marco. I don't know why Marco's involved in the flash mob. Why is he there? Who invited him?
I don't really know because and it kind of gets brought up in the film because the irony is that Noah's angry at Elle for Marco, but he's hanging out with Chloe, which is pretty much the entirety of the second film and hasn't even been resolved in this film, which is annoying because it is just a bit that you're like, well, Elle should probably be with Marco and Noah should probably be with Chloe, realistically.
One of the things that really threw me is, Lee's kind of part-time also working at the same cafe as Elle.
But he's not, though, is he? He keeps having different jobs. One time he's a server, the next day he's a chef. I assume he doesn't actually have a job, and he's just turning up with the apron. I don't think he...
How is he a chef? How has he graduated to chefery?
And Elle's chatting down to him. She must know that the chef, I believe... I haven't worked in a kitchen, but I think the chef's, angry and, I'm going off Gordon Ramsay. It feels like he's the boss, or she's the boss. That's right, we're powerful
here. Lee pulls out the bucket list from his work shirt.
Yeah.
Why are you carrying that around, man? That's so sad.
Elle digitized it as well, which makes it feel like it's accessible on your phone. Don't fucking, bring this tattery 10-year-old list around with you. God.
Anyway, after all of this other stuff that's happening, what's it called? Noah at one stage picks up Elle's bag.
Yeah.
And toiletries and a letter fall out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the bag's packed with such specific items.
Yeah, loose items.
I don't know why he picked it up so blindly. He basically picked it up upside down. It was never not going to fall apart.
And then immediately starts rummaging around.
Oh, he sniffs that letter like a sniffer dog. He's like, Berkeley, ruh-roh.
Anyway, he's furious, and he's like, "Let me call Chloe." And she's like, "I want to kill her." Chloe's like, "All right, don't do that."
Chloe's like, "My parents are getting divorced still. Shall we play pool?" Like, oh God. You're all such awful characters.
With no adversity. It really sucks. They have nothing. Anyway, they make up, Noah and Elle. He, like, breaks into a place of work, plays a song, they fuck.
Yeah, fine for, like, a moment, and then they throw another party with another 100 people. And Marco shows up because Tuppen bullied him. Who knew Tuppen and Marco were friends? Anyway.
It's a big plot point we missed.
They play... Yeah, there's no connective tissue there. Haven't seen... Are they going to have their own Hobbs and Shaw style spin-off from the Kissing
Marco
Booth?
and Tuppen in New York City trying to make it big with their scat band. I think it could work. I'd watch it.
I would too. I think that's $150 million film in gross.
Easily.
I think that's a hit.
I would imagine a Netflix executive green-lighting those secondary characters. Give them a spin-off. They deserve this.
The awful photography guy gets like a Joker like spin-off.
It's
like,
dark and gritty.
give him a serious character study.
It's an Oscar award-winning performance. You gotta watch it. Every 10 years, another high-string actor plays photography man, and what he gets up to.
So they're fine for a moment. Anyway, yeah. So Marco is playing beach volleyball with Noah.
Yep.
Noah violently punches the ball at Marco.
Yes.
Like, he did that on purpose. Yep. Marco then tries to confront Noah about just having issues with him.
Mm-hmm.
Noah arcs up Marco so much that Marco ends up punching Noah. And then Noah's like, well, I've grown, so I'm going to walk away. And I'm like, you antagonized him after hurting him in beach volleyball.
Also,
you haven't grown.
He hasn't grown. He also absorbs the shock like just it's nothing to him. And then emotionally just runs away from his feelings and the situation. So he hasn't grown. He's just changed.
He absorbs the shock and propels it onto Elle. He's like, it's your fault.
This is why I'm leaving. It's your violence. Oh God, he leaves for quite a bit of time. Elle's destroyed.
He's gone for like a week, and they're all like, I don't know, that's just him, I guess.
He'll come
this
back.
This is an awful relationship.
This is an awful man. How is this like? It's like, he goes on these benders. Don't worry about him. No need for rehab. He'll be fine after a week once the crack runs out.
During this time, Elle goes home to play Monopoly with her new stepmom.
Yeah.
And the stepmom's like, all right, Monopoly, I guess I'll be the race car. And Elle's like, how fucking dare you?
Are you joking? This is the second problem I've ever had in my life. I love the race car. You dumb bit. You think I want to be the thimble? I'd rather kill myself than be the thimble. The race car goes quick.
I love she like confronts her dad and is like, hey, Dad, how do you not see that she's a mega bitch? Like,
the dad then drops on her just like, I raised you and took up a second job to get you through school. And Elle's like, I had no idea. But again, the race car, that's my piece, Dad. That's what I use. Everyone knows the race car always wins. I'm not being the iron. I'm not a cunt.
Elle's whole thing is just realizing that other people have lives too. It's a weird revelation for the main character to have.
Especially in the third film, as a character.
And he's basically like, hey, when your mother died, I was hurt as well. And she was like, wait, really? Do you think our younger brother was upset too? Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I bet...
Wait, does that mean other people at high school also have issues? Oh, no.
What is this, for empathy? No, I don't want that. In the bin it goes. I've got a dance competition to win. Fuck me dead. Elle then realizes after this angry Monopoly rage, she's like, I know where Noah is. drives to the Hollywood sign,
Oh god, I hate this.
and Noah has been just vibing there for at least a week. Hasn't showered, hasn't been... I've never been to the Hollywood sign. I think we had a bit in the first episode about this, but we assume it's like, it's closed off, but also it's full of people that like want to stab.
So I've been to the Hollywood sign when I was in LA. It's completely fenced off. You have to go over a fence and some barbed wire to get there. You don't just get to nonchalantly walk through the... It's clearly green screen and edited out all of that. I don't think it's even shot anywhere near there. It looks that fake. But there's so many people just like living around in those bushes and things like that. It's so busy all the time. It's a giant walking track to go on. The idea that if Noah was to stay there into maybe the late evening, he is stabbed, skinned, and fucked within minutes of sundown.
And I'll say right now, and he's a big boy, a violent boy. As we've seen, I just don't think he could fare up against a couple of crackheads. I think he's gone.
Oh, absolutely not. Because, crackheads have hope.
Yeah.
Noah ain't got hope. He has nothing to fight for.
Crackheads have crack.
Crackheads have something to...
They got crack. Noah's only got
crack at least.
Noah's got love with Elle. Sorry, crack trumps Elle. I'm sorry. We've all know that.
Oh god, I'd love a movie about crack in this exact same situation.
Doesn't even touch on addiction, just like, crack's great, you gotta give it a go.
Well, it's basically Rachel the lead being like, you're spending too much time with crack. I think you're addicted to crack. And just being like, hey, Noah, have you realized crack makes you more violent?
I don't think it is. Now come here and let me give you a goddamn knuckle sandwich, you piece of shit. Who took my crack? Okay. I kind of blinked and I missed it. Did Noah break up with Elle here?
Yeah, she's like, oh god, I'm so glad I found you. And he's like, whoa, no.
Don't want you. I could not care less. So they break up. I don't really know what his reason is. He's just like, I just am not feeling this. Doesn't really give a reason.
He's basically like, hey, the last 2 years, this was a vibe. This ain't a vibe anymore,
I'm
girl.
gonna say it, the vibes are off. And I'm just not vibing with your whole vibe. That's G.
And because of this, she then has to... She's already done the very long walk up to the Hollywood. It's a huge walk.
Yeah.
She's then run all the way back down crying. It's like an hour of running and crying to get back down to the bottom.
Which is
so
exhausting.
Then hop in a car and be like, I'm late for Lee.
Oh yeah, imagine that. Her phone would buzz and go, oh no, the dance competition, I'm late. How dehydrated would she be? She's been crying and running. Her glands must be abused. She would have no water in her system.
The only way she would have been able to get through this whole scenario is if she stumbled onto somebody with crack on the way down.
Yeah, if she had crack, of course she'd be able to make it and probably do great in that dance competition. But if bar that, she ain't getting down.
So she's now emotionally fragile, physically exhausted. She's rocked up. The machine that means a lot to her is now gone. Lee is there crying, and Lee still has the audacity to be like, you missed the dancing competition. Doesn't mean nothing to you.
Elle, obviously out of breath, out of water in her system's like, so sorry, Lee. Lee's just like, forget about it, you dumb bitch. How fucking dare you ruin my dance competition. The machine wasn't even there. I don't know what his plan was.
Oh, he's so self-absorbed. The way that he basically turns around and she's just like, look, I've got to tell you about what's happened between me and Noah. And he's like, no, let me speak. All right? It basically ends with him turning around being like, you know what? I'm glad your mum died. And just like pushing her aside.
Off the pier. All right, Carl, I'll give you a little recap of what's gone on so far. Just so we know, because this is kind of like Elle's down point. Elle's really angry at her father because he played Monopoly. He's angry at her because she hasn't accepted her mother. Lee and Elle are angry at each other because Elle hasn't spent enough time with Lee, even though they've done about 100 activities. Insane. Noah isn't vibing it, or is cheating. Marco sort of calls it off with Elle. He kind of calls her and goes, again, not that sort of
He
thing.
basically is like, hey, you do you, and hangs up on her.
Yeah, hangs up. He's like, I don't know, you just, you do you. Rachel still is not a character and hasn't been given anything. Chloe's parents are getting a divorce because of her, and the house is not in selling condition. We're at the worst fucking possible stage we can be in the film.
So now that they've broken up and everything, Chloe's like, hey, I'm still at the house for some reason, even though Noah's not here. I'm gonna go, but I want you to know, I think you're a brilliant woman. What is she basing that on? She spent no time with her. What has Elle done that's brilliant in her lifetime
Here's
so
the thing,
far?
Carl. Here's the thing, Carl. Actually, spending no time with Elle would make you believe she is a brilliant woman. You spend a single second with Elle, she's an awful person, an awful woman. She's a bad person to the gender of females.
There's a part where she can't. There's a part where she can't even take the trash out. It breaks. It's a simple thing for her to do, and she's like, "Oh no, it's not even that full. How did it break?"
Okay, so
It's also really quickly. It's also crazy that during this time that Elle and Chloe are having a conversation about having broken up, that Rachel's listening on, being like, "Oh, that gives me an idea."
that's really weird. I was gonna say because it's just a single shot of Rachel in a hallway. It's so poorly edited, and that's meant us to believe because Rachel then goes on to the next scene. Anyway, Molly Ringwald gets gets Elle and is just like, let's sort this whole situation out in a sentence. Elle, come here. What do you want to do? She asks her. Elle, for the first time in her life, 3 films, has gone, oh. Didn't know that was an option. I thought I had to go to college for one of these boys. God fucking damn it.
Which I think is ridiculous because the main takeaway is that it's like, hey, why don't you be more selfish?
Molly Ringwald's got it worked for me, Elle. I think you're literally so irredeemable. Fuck it, just commit to it, you know?
It makes sense that Molly Ringwald's children are also so selfish. If her advice is like, just be selfish, don't care about other people's, just you do you, and fucking trample everyone you know.
It will work, trust me. In this real estate game, I've destroyed people's lives. It's piss easy, and you can do it too. Wait, do you have a lot of money, Elle? Oh no? Ooh, shouldn't take that advice then. Do not take that advice. Get a stable job and just keep your head down.
So this inspires her to go and do what's it called, like video game school?
Game development. Yeah,
which is just coding. I don't know why she thinks she's going to get to do fun creative stuff. It's coding.
I'll say this right now. As a kid, I think a lot of people played video games, which she does in this movie, and then went, oh, you can make video games. And people go, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that. Does that entail me playing video games? No. You're going to do very long, boring hours of coding games or modeling. It's not, I'm sure, if you love it, you can do it. But if you just like playing games, don't commit to it as a career. I think she regrets it in the end, I think.
For sure. When she goes in for, the preliminary interview, not the main one, but just to sign up, it has the best line in the entire trilogy, which is, hey, you won the only dance competition I've ever judged.
Elle's like, yes, I do get up to hijinks. You might remember me. Real quickly, Rachel breaks up with Lee, and I think this is the best part of the film. Rachel's finally out of this film. Lee's crying because he's actually got a fucking problem for the first time in his life. And he's like, I love you. And Rachel's like, cool, I'm leaving. And quite frankly, I'm very happy until the fucking end of this movie. Go on, Carl, what else happens?
Well, when she walks in, he's doing the most generic drawing of a house. And he's like, hey, check this out. And she goes, that's beautiful.
Does he want to be an architect?
I don't know. It's an awful house.
It's a bunch of fucking squares. He's just pretty much drawn his massive fucking mansion on the beach side. His second home. My mistake.
I know. He's like, because he's never had to work hard before to get into anything he's ever wanted to do. Anyway, so it was a real relief when they broke up.
Yeah.
Then Lee and Noah have an interaction where Noah's like, just because I'm not dating Elle anymore doesn't mean I won't protect her, which is the most toxic thing. It's like, no, you're not in a relationship anymore.
Yeah.
you don't have anything to do with her life. You don't still protect her.
Lee then makes it 1,000 times worse. He goes, maybe you weren't meant to protect her. Maybe you just meant to love her. Just fucking force yourself back into that. And Noah's like, maybe I will force myself back into this whole situation.
Noah's like, give me 8 years.
Oh god, okay, there's a third party. We have a luau now.
Oh god,
We're pretty much wrapping up everything from the first film. Pretty much, Elle's like, all right.
Characters we haven't seen the entire movie. She's just like, I'm really gonna miss you. And I was like, who the fuck is this character?
She smacks Tuppen on the ass. She gives the gays a high five. She gives Rachel a nothing wave. Because again, Rachel's out the film. Run, baby. And then she, like, has a selfie with the popular girls. They don't remember her name. I guess that's resolved.
Why are they all here?
I don't know, you're right. It's a beach house. It should be very far away from school. Quite frankly, if my faraway acquaintances at school, I would invite them to a beach. They have so many fucking parties. I mean, they have the numbers, don't they? God.
They have, so they do this whole, like, thing.
Yeah.
Then, what's it called? Lee rocks up, and Lee's like, hey, should we go for a walk? I can only presume, walked down a pier, dead silence until they reached the end of it and went, what should we talk about?
Both just like, I thought you had something to say. I'm too self-absorbed. I haven't got anything to talk about. I've got me to talk about, but I don't think we could talk about that.
Yeah, so anyway, basically he's like, hey, whatever. Sure, I guess our friendship maybe will be able to withstand not going to the same university or whatever. Then they start to pack up the house to sell it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And one of the things that I thought was absolutely atrocious was Elle's going to leave the house to go on her own self-journey. She turns and looks at a picture frame and is like, I just didn't have the heart to take it. It's not yours to take. It's not your house.
I said the exact same thing. Imagine you've been very kindly accepted into this home. You have a family back home. You can't just start taking shit and going, I couldn't do it. Don't take it. Not only does she say, I'm not going to take it, she then does take it and re-gifts it back to the owner. What a cruel thing to do. If you came to my house, stole a keyboard, and then re-gifted it to me 2 months later, went, I didn't have the heart to take it, I'd be furious.
Oh god, I love it.
Molly Ringwald, but off this, Molly Ringwald gets the picture. Essentially, Elle has taken the exact same picture, but like now, which is very self-absorbed.
And who took the photo? Who took the photo? Fucked up photo guy from the other two films. He was there at the beach house. What a tie-in.
Also, what kind of... It's pretty narcissistic. Imagine, like, I don't know, you and your brother. Imagine someone gets a present... Like, imagine if I took a picture of us three, and then I gifted it to you, but me in the middle, kind of a big thumbs up. I said, hang this up on your wall.
I love it's actually such big dick energy to be like, here, have a picture of myself.
and your kids, I guess, but mainly me. I'm the focal point. And this inspires Molly Ringwald. She's essentially in like a business meeting, or what a person who doesn't know what a business meeting is. It's like 5 angry men behind a table. They're like, we need one signature. What a bullshit meeting. It doesn't need She's like, you need to sign this contract to say you're gonna sell the house. And Molly Ringwald's like, I just got this picture, and it's a no deal. 5 men came down from like head office to like watch this Molly Ringwald sign a piece of paper, and she doesn't do it. What a waste of everyone's time.
I love this. They're like, you're losing out on $5 million, and she's like, I don't care. You're so rich.
How rich are you? I thought they had to sell the place, right?
It hasn't been used in 10 years. And she's like, I'm going to keep it for the memories. Little does she know, Lee's gone and painted over all the memories because he thought you wanted to sell the house.
They've been vanished. Everything's been burnt at the luau. They've stripped the place. It's bare bones. Oh, God fucking damn it. Anyway.
Alright, so anyway, Elle goes into her university meeting where they're just like, pitch us a game.
Which is
She's
bullshit because it's an interview, but she didn't know that she had to pitch a game. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't."
Awful. They would never do this.
She's like, "I didn't prepare anything." Like, well, I guess we're done here. Close
yeah,
the
they're like,
book.
I guess you're. They literally, the one guy just rips a page out and scrunches it up, and she's like, "Oh, I do have an idea," and he's like, "Quick, iron it out, flatten it."
Who has tape? I can glue it onto a page. Her fucking idea is absolutely the worst thing I've ever heard in game
It
development.
doesn't make sense.
Okay,
it doesn't make sense.
She's pretty much just like, okay, you know FIFA? It's a pretty big thing, right? You know, it's a $7 billion industry, people playing sport. Now, what if we had FIFA, but instead of playing as soccer players, you play as gamers, sitting behind a computer, not moving. She's like, gaming has a $2 billion industry, FIFA has a $7 billion industry. Combine those two, that's $9 billion. They all clap. They all clap and go, congratulations, you've solved everything.
Her idea is just like, oh, let's just combine two things that are popular. She's like, hey, the porn industry's big, and I don't know,
Fortnite.
people like light, don't they? Like, electricity's big. People need that. How do we combine porn and electricity? What do we want to do there?
How about McDonald's and golf? They're pretty big businesses. Just smack those two together.
Also, it's a university. They can't do anything with the idea. It's not like she's pitching it. It's not like they were like, oh, well, we'll fund that immediately. They probably just fucking stole it.
She has no lawyer. Also, what would that game be? It would be you playing as someone playing behind a computer. So you're just playing the game through a secondary person. What kind of game would that... Why'd that be a $9 billion industry, Elle?
I love the idea that they've come back and they're like, your game single-handedly killed both industries.
You're $9 billion in the hole, and you need to pay up now.
It all dried up. It made no sense. We loved it when you said it, but oh my god, what was it really?
We poured money, mountains of money into that idea. We hadn't got a fucking clue what that was. You just combined things. I sold my house.
I defended you. I lost my wife over that. We had a whole marriage story incident.
I won't get into it. We sold our beach house and some bitch down the road wouldn't sell hers. So we had to flip our own house.
That's the other thing is wasn't she selling it to contractors? Now contractors can't use any of the houses because there's one stuck in the middle that doesn't want to move.
Just for the memories, because those entitled cunts might come back in They don't come back. The ending is 6 years. They haven't been back to it for 6 years. What a waste of land.
She said it doesn't get used it gets used once a decade. Would you keep something if you used it once a decade? Anyway, 8 years later, let's jump to it.
I cannot believe I was gobsmacked when the film was like 6 years later. I was like, what the actual fuck? Somehow nothing has changed, and yet the worst elements are back. So the only part of the film I actually liked was Rachel going, hey Lee, we haven't actually in like 2.5 films had any character development, anything at all. I guess we should break up. We're 6 years later. Lee and Rachel are back together. They're getting married. I'm furious.
This whole like time jump's so funny because they're like, all right, everybody's allowed to look the same. Joey King, cut your hair.
Yeah, you're really channeling Hillary Clinton. Can you give us that?
Let's give
look?
you a mum look. You've got these awful earrings and like a boy haircut. I can only assume her stand-in was like an 11-year-old boy that day. Like
a chimney sweep picked off the road. Get in there, boy. So I was going to ask you, Carl, if we met up, if you and I went to high school together, we parted ways, and then 6 years later, do you think we'd be happy and reminisce? Because I think all these people peaked in high school, essentially.
I'd have so much anxiety I probably wouldn't talk to you.
No.
If I accidentally cross paths with somebody I went to high school with, it just sends me. I try and avoid them pretty much like the plague. Even if there's no ill will, I just don't want to have an awkward conversation.
You've moved locations to avoid that, and I think you've done well. The kissing booth's back. They're pretty much Elle and Noah have so past their peak. Their youth is gone. They're just like, oh, remember when we did that? And Noah's like, haha, yeah, I'm a lawyer now. I'm gonna go.
It's like, of course, he's a filthy fucking lawyer.
God, he's such... He was that or a violent man, and yet he's pretty much Patrick Bateman. I think we made that joke in the first one. He turns into Patrick fucking Bateman, pretty much. God.
And then, like, they do the whole stare thing, but he turns around, giving the hint that everything will be okay, perhaps, maybe.
Making this 6-year jump insanely pointless.
I know, it's like, why? It feels like maybe they weren't going to have anybody be together, and then when they watched a cut of the film, a producer was like, we should probably just have them all end up together.
Yeah.
Because you could really cut the film there, and I don't know. But then again, maybe you don't want to leave it on this horrifying image of children appearing out of nowhere. There's a scene where Joey King is standing on a road, the camera slightly turns, there's 3 children behind her,
which made me furious, because they're trying to do... I can't believe they actually decided to do a creative decision. Insane. I think it's meant to be like her as a young... But they picked... kids actors. They're all the same age.
Same age. They're all the same age.
So it's just like ugly ducklings following the mum. It's very strange. Anyway, what's it called? Lee also has 3 kids in the back of his car. Looks like he's committing a crime. I'll say it.
I thought he was going to turn his revision mirror and be like, oh my God, and like swerve off
Who the
road.
fuck put these triplets in my car? Okay, and then, so the film ends. Elle and Noah join a bike gang. And we're back at square one. Nothing. All they've done is they have lost the car. They are now on bikes.
It's Kissing Booth, Sons of Anarchy, and I think it's a $1 billion film franchise meets a $7 billion television show. How could it not work?
That's how it works. You smash them together, and it only works. We get some. We're still. I mean, we're kind of finished. Did you watch the bloopers at all, or did you just?
I did watch I thought it was weird that they did this final scene with Noah on the worst green screen. Such awful green screen. And then immediately in the credits revealed it was green screen. I was like, just film in an actual location.
Well, that's what do you think just do you think they got kicked out of South Africa? Do you think this was mainly...
The embassy found out what they were doing. Though. You can't film a Kissing Booth movie here. Get out. Run.
How many did you make? 3? Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, we're going to tax the shit out of you when you get home. Oh, my God.
Thoughts, Carl, on this trio? We're done. I'm pretty upset.
In this trying time of being in lockdown for 7, now 8 weeks, I kind of loved this. I really needed it. I needed a sense of familiarity and normalcy in my life. It's a high recommend from me, and it's a great Netflix trilogy. And I say that from the heart, that I was fulfilled in every way. Is it one of the worst trilogies ever? Perhaps. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Oscar, your thoughts?
I am pretty much so upset that you've even given it a compliment. At least it could give me is just a happy ending, because then I can be cynical to it. But I can't, because the film's chosen that, hey, life gets in the way, bogs down stuff. What the fuck does that mean? Just show them getting together and I'll be happy. It can be as flawed as you want, I don't mind. But they decided that they won't, maybe they will, they won't. Just fucking say they will. I think it's a mess. I think, yeah, you're right. Everyone should watch them, and everyone has watched them, it seems.
Oh my God, I wish we were reviewing this when we knew the watch numbers for this film, because it's been #1 on Netflix for so long, and the other 2 movies have popped back up. That it's really a juggernaut trilogy on Netflix. Isn't it crazy, this movie that's we have dumb shit and fart jokes and awful humor and everything, but our ending is life can get in the way of love, and you can find your way back to it. What?
Sometimes those real bad relationships just keep going. 6 years later, you're still in the same goddamn place. Lee and Rachel are depressed.
It was pretty upsetting to end on the note where I was like, oh, everybody got out of their awful, toxic, abusive relationships, and maybe they'll be better as people. But instead, all it did was come back around to being you can't escape abuse. It'll always crawl back to you.
6 years past, time won't heal that. Trust me. It's the one thing that trumps time. You're going to be in this for a long time. Don't you ever forget that. Carl, who would watch this? Who would watch this trilogy? Seems like you have gone.
It's
yes,
me. I I had a great time. I reckon I'm going to revisit it one day. It's a trilogy for me, apparently. 0 stars, but also 10 out of 10. Oscar.
Oh man, I mean, it's.
Is your partner going to make you rewatch this, by the way?
Probably. She wants to watch it. She gave me the sort of like, I just want to see how it ends, which is bullshit. Like, no.
Yeah, no, she loves it.
Yeah,
Didn't you tell me she was going to rewatch all 3 of them in a day?
Oh, disgusting. She was like, wait for me, I'll watch this one with you. I have to watch the first 2 though. Crazy. I think the first one is a lot of fun. I think the second one's abusively long, but I think kind of prepares you for what the third one is. And the third one is just, it's I've never seen a film like this. Just random scenes clapped together. No real structure. No like 3-act structure. Just things happen. It's like a Richard Linklater film. Just things happen, but it's awful things to amazingly privileged people. I think everyone should give it a watch.
I guess this really is the young people's before trilogy.
This is it. It kind of shows it's pretty much like it's all filmed a year and a half in between. So you get every stage of these awful people's lives. Yeah, if you like the before trilogy, you're gonna love the Kissing Booth 1, 2, and especially 3.
I love the idea that you're like, oh god, my main issues with the before trilogy, too long between sequels. Crank them out.
Listen, I want to know what they're up to. I want to know what Jesse's up to yearly. I want to. I want to connect the tissues.
Good on them for having a trilogy. In terms of the trilogy, in terms of what we've done the 50 Shades, we've done the Twilights, we've done this, and then we're still in the middle of the after films. What's the best franchise we've done?
Okay, let's just Twilight. I think it got too much hate, and it actually is quite lovable. I think it's fun. Okay, I think Twilight's fun. I think 50 Shades is reels you in with smuttiness, but is just a strange plot. That last one's a lot of heists, I remember, which is insane. After, I think, might be the worst one. I think After might be the worst characters. And Kissing Booth is like just a big mess of the middle. I think I was actually so taken aback when watching this, because I forgot how these films are styled, like just in terms of the editing and the structure.
ADHD, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels so much like that. So, I'd say my favorite, the one I'd rewatch is probably Twilight. My favorite one, because it's that bad, is probably After.
Yeah, After's a pretty phenomenal piece of cinema in terms of how much it gets wrong at every single stage.
Like, the Kissing Booth, they're like, the first one, they're violent, and then by the end, they're just entitled rich. After, I think they actually are psychopaths. Every single one of them.
You got a palate cleanser?
I do. Technically, I watched a Nick Cage film, because this is technically Nick Cage month. He was in the Kissing Booth, you missed it. But I also watched Death Proof. I watched Death Proof, and at the start of Death Proof, there's 3 fake trailers. In one of them, I think it's like werewolves or women in the SS. Nicolas Cage is in it. So, tick, I watched a Nick Cage film. But I mainly did watch Death Proof. I think this might be the last Quentin Tarantino film I hadn't seen. I've kind of started watching Jackie Brown.
I've never seen it.
I turned it off. I get why it's got it's considered his worst, because it just feels like he had like 5 minutes, and they're like, "Can you make a film?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it is pretty simple. Like, it kind of starts like, have you heard what's about?
Yeah, I've watched the first 30 minutes of Death Proof.
I'd done that too, and I kind of pushed through. Because that 30-minute climaxes, and then the film kind of starts again, and the tone's completely different. And honestly, it's just the stunt work is very impressive. There's pretty much, I think he just wanted to do one scene. It feels like it's just a student film that got out of hand, and it's just a lot of fun. And I think
I know it starts very deliberately in terms of bad editing and
Yeah,
things
missing
like
one of those like double feature B movie things. But then the film
because
kind of.
I've seen the companion piece. Have you seen Planet
I
Terror, which
didn't
is
watch that. No, I didn't watch that. You
yeah,
seen that? Have you?
which I thought was fun. Yeah, I thought Planet Terror was pretty fun and outlandish.
I was gonna critique the film because like one of the actresses who's like Australian playing herself as a stunt double. I was like, oh, I don't know why you hired her. It's not very good acting. And then she does the stunts, and holy shit, that isn't like that's just I now get it. There's no fucking way you could find someone that would do those stunts and would actually act as well. So congratulations to the film.
Is it Zoe Bell from?
Yes.
Yeah, from like Hateful Eight and
Yeah, all those. I think
she does like Uma Thurman's stunts. Hey, in the Kill Bill films, I'm pretty sure.
So. Yeah, I think she's worked with Quentin Tarantino for a while.
Oh, she's got that awful line reading in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where she's like, "Look what you did to my car."
I don't think she's a very good actress, but I was annoyed at that until she did the stunts. I'm like, all right, fair enough. You can't really. I don't think there's much overlap of those people. But yeah, the first like 40 minutes is just like kind of like its own like sort of student film, and then the next 50 minutes is just Quentin Tarantino wanting to do a stunt, and it's quite fun.
Good for him.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about it. I get why it's not like loved, but yeah, I get it. What did you watch, Carl?
I watched Punch Drunk Love.
Hey, Adam Sandler.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, it's 90 minutes and it's pretty much a romantic comedy version of Uncut Gems. It's like an anxiety attack. It's constantly moving. It's a very odd tone and way to make like a romantic comedy. Super strange and violent, and like, yeah, no, I really dug it. Thought it was good.
Hells yeah.
All right, Oscar, what are we reviewing next week?
Next week we're going to be doing Ghost Rider, the last of the Nick Cage film. Yeah, big reveal. Very excited to finish off Nick Cage and also just keep doing more palate cleanses of good Nick Cage films. It's like a nice little. It feels like a nice ticker box of all the ones. Sweet. All right. We'll see you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
See you next week. Goodbye.